is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 64. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. His name is Ian Michaud. We call him E, a.k.a. LaE James, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew Easy, a.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pap E. O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willy, a.k.a. Joe E. Chestnut, a.k.a. Eon Stonkel. E, back in the friendly confines of the great state of Texas, Austin, Texas. I'm glad to see that they didn't soften you up so much up there in upstate New York that you melted when you came back to this heat wave. How was the end of the trip? How are you feeling now? It's good to see you back, my friend.
Yeah, I'm just feeling quite warm right now. It's definitely hot. I thought I had avoided the heat when I was up there, but it looks like I got back just in time for the really intense stuff. End of my trip was great. It's always good to see my brothers. It was hard to say bye to them, but we got some lunch, got on the road, got down to JFK, and smooth sailing back to Austin. Got in late, and happy to be back. Just thinking about being at the queue. I think I texted you at the airport. I was like, I just paid $12 for a beer.
Yeah, feel like I'm at home.
Feels like I'm home already. But yeah, today I was just thinking about, man, like I want to see H. I want to see the We Are Awesome TV guys after the game. You know, well, the rain delay, we bumped into Landon. So like, you know, I want to see my homies. Said bye to some homies. Looking forward to seeing my Texas homies down here and chatting with you, man. You know,
yeah. It's been a minute. At least since we were in person, right? And yeah, you know who I want to see, E? I want to see Big Fudge. Shout out Big Fudge. Congrats to the Denver Nuggets. First ever NBA championship. He was hyped, man, and rightfully so. You know, it's not every year that you get the best player in the world on your team. Nikola Jokic certainly is that. Right now, look, come on. We don't inject that LeBron bullshit anymore.
No, I'm just saying for me, it's every year.
Okay. Well, let's jump into it here today because obviously no first team match to preview. We'll preview FC Dallas on Sunday evening. No match to recap. We already went through that SKC debacle. Sucked on that lemon on last Sunday night. But we do have an FC2 match to recap tonight. The boys out there taking on St. Louis City. 2, that is. Although I would love to see them go up against the big team too. Why not? Avenge us in the big leagues too. So yeah, let's jump into last business day here. Taking on St. Louis City 2 tonight on the road. And just but the one thing I wanted to note, and obviously I didn't really realize this until we turned the game on, but playing in the big stadium out there, I think City Park is what it's called. So that's kind of a nice touch, right? Like it would be pretty cool if our guys got to play in Q2 once or twice.
For sure. I was pretty taken back by that too, but I guess they just don't have the other facilities for it, but a good experience for the guys.
Yeah, no question. And we did kind of, as expected, see some rotation here. We saw Captain Joe take a seat. So Kippy with the armband.
That's a step forward.
Yeah, for sure. He didn't get it the previous time that Joe sat, correct?
He did not.
I don't remember who it was. If it was I think it might have been Charlie.
It was.
I don't remember. Yeah. Well, it wasn't Kip.
It was not Kip.
Yeah. So that's good to see.
Yeah.
Damian in net. So you had Charlie on the left, Czech on the right in place of Joe. Sally Maz back there with Kip Keller. Noel in the midfield. Then you did see Valti rotate in. Steve also. Louis Jean in there. Cristo Vela starting on the right. And CJ on the left. And then AOC back in there up top. So we tuned in. If you can't tell if you're watching on the YouTube, it's a little bit darker here now. Splice this recap right into the beginning of the podcast. So we actually finished rambling the rest of this pod, which, as you can tell, is our longest yet. We tuned in like the 10th minute here. So decent crowd there. Like looks like they kind of only sell the like middle 4 sections. But a couple hundred people on hand on a Wednesday night. 14th minute was first corner of the game for either team. St. Louis, unfortunately at this point, taking it. It goes long, and Jackson Valty gets it out for a second corner, and then he's challenged again on that second corner, and kind of ushers it out for a goal kick. 5 minutes later, 19th. Good ball by Kip here. Couple good long balls from Kip Keller tonight. This one, long to Vela. He takes kind of a tough touch that goes out towards the sideline. Austin keeps possession on the throw. Great pass after that throw in from Charlie over to Valentin on the left. It's kind of cycled around, and Czech Torre crosses it in from right to left. CJ's on it. He heads it down to Vela, but it's called back for offside.
Yeah.
So early chance there, 19th minute, and that was good to see. And really, like, this entire match, man, was up and down, end to end, really wide open. And I thought Austin, obviously, will go through it, but I thought they did a great job of, keeping a clean sheet in this one. And by the way, Zeesterdamus and Easterdamus with the 1-0, so we'll take that. 20th minute, St. Louis throw here, dribbled into the box, and the St. Louis forward kind of spins a couple times, never able to get free. It was good team defense. You could see the communication there between the guys that were kind of ushering this guy around the 18 and not letting him get a look. Ends up getting cleared back out, and Austin back into possession. 4 minutes later, Austin on the break here. CJ has space and takes some of it, then dishes it to Steve, who's kind of on his right. Steve fires a shot that goes just wide left. So hadn't really challenged the giant St. Louis 2 keeper that's 6'6" back there.
Yeah.
But definitely putting the heat on. Like, we were getting our chances.
Absolutely. They came early, they came often, and same story in the second half here, like you mentioned. All kinds of chances, some great play. Obviously, we'll get into it more.
Yeah, 28th minute. Pretty nice long ball of their own from St. Louis, their center back, to Azael Jackson, who was up there again. The big old hair, I think 7 appearances already for their first team. A couple other guys. Yeah, a couple other guys out there. Josh Yarrow, I know, has made some appearances with St. Louis's first team. And obviously, they're first in the West. So this is a good team, or a talented team that FCito was taking on tonight. So that long ball was actually, you remember the kind of the challenge that Kip had that was physical, but I guess the official kind of deemed it shoulder to shoulder, play on. So we'll take that.
Absolutely.
31st minute, long ball here from Sal. Mazzaferro gets CJ in behind, and that becomes a theme. CJ's cross, kind of just behind AOC up top, but it falls to Vela kind of all the way through, trailing on the right. And before he can get a shot off or create some more space, he gets his pocket picked by the defender. 2 minutes later, Jensen, one of the St. Louis forwards, who was probably their best player in the night, certainly the most threatening on offense.
He looked good too. He had some impressive plays. Was that him in the first half with the tight little dribbles there inside the box?
I think I said he works his way through the Austin defense here and fires a shot at Loss. Ends up saving this, kind of diving to his left. And I think that was the couple other times where, like, St. Louis player in the box kind of dancing with it. Ultimately, again, I thought the team defense was pretty damn good tonight.
It's best in the league.
There's some individual work as well along the way. 40th minute here, ball worked around by Austin to CJ on the left. And he plays like a deft little ball into AOC, who slides but can't quite make contact with it. Like, I think you commented, because we were watching together, just kept the stream on. Like, that was, I think you said it was the 2022 Diego Fagundes pass. Like, the curve on this ball was awesome.
It was wicked. And on that left side, that's CJ's strong foot, as opposed to Diego with the right. And, we were talking about, I think last pod, about his service all year. And again, he looked great, and you said it, probably turned a corner.
Yeah, and I think going back to Sunday's episode, I think you were right. Like the service has been good, but I think I think he's just gone up a level in almost all aspects of his game over the last two. And I don't know, like I think the easy thing, the like cliched thing is to say, you know, he got his first goal and now he's rolling. And that may be the case. But leading up to that late winner last time out at home, he was fucking great in that game too. So I just think like something has clicked here.
He was hurt start the year. Could be getting his mojo back, really just finally getting his legs underneath him. But yeah, he's great. He's exciting. If y'all haven't gotten a chance to see him play in person, you can tell the difference. He stands out.
Yeah, he's gone up a level, I think, and it's showing even more now. Hopefully that keeps going, man. You got to keep working. The chance is going to come for him to move up.
Yep. We'll keep grinding.
42nd minute. The Grillmaster here, Valti, wins a free kick near the left sideline. So Czech ends up lining up over to take it. And this is one of Czech, I thought, also had a great game. Looking at the FOTMob scores here, that backs it up. He was second highest rated. Of course, CJ with the goal, man of the match. So again, the Czech and CJ, they didn't connect on that goal, but those two guys, Czech, another guy who's looking great, and I think Landon pointed that out on Moon Tower yesterday.
He's looked really comfortable in that position and threatening out of the back there.
Well, and I think if I recall correctly, he made the switch from a winger last year at Young PSV, which is like their second team. I think he mid-season went from winger to fullback, a la John Gallagher, right?
Right.
And so maybe now he is also just becoming more comfortable in that position because he's been good on D and contributing offensively, which again makes sense for a guy who was a winger a year ago. 43rd minute here. Jackson for St. Louis working at the top of the box, kind of just on the edge of it, and really good side-to-side movement by Kip Keller here. Like, you know, I wouldn't say he's been the most agile of defenders that I've seen these couple years watching MLS and Next Pro. But this was some good individual defense here.
Gave me Kevin Love 2016 semifinals vibes, baby. Just this little crafty dude running around trying to beat you. He's a little squirrely and locked them down.
Yeah, man. I mean, he just corralled him, forced the back pass. Good defense. 45th minute here. St. Louis corner headed out by Kip, and the St. Louis a player runs onto it. I don't think it was Janssen. I think it was one of their defenders. But like volley here, and luckily deflects off of an offside St. Louis player in the 6 and into the net, and not just straight in, because that was a dangerous shot and lucky deflection for Austin for that one to be called back. And then second minute, right here before halftime, Czech and Jackson from St. Louis make contact. And maybe a foul on Czech here, but we got the call. And then the official did bring Kip, who I think came up and had some words. Brought Kip and Jackson together, gave him a little talking to. I think you may have seen that better than I did as I'm sitting here trying to take a bunch of notes. Any thoughts on that play? Because I know you were like, what?
Yeah, well, I definitely thought it was a foul on Czech initially. Then we got the call. But you could see that there was some mutual respect between Keller and Jackson.
Okay.
Even Kip makes a point even later in the game where he's going up to get some water, and Jackson is as well. And he goes and gets the water for him, slaps him on the chest, like, you know, just like a mutual respect. Was he in the first game, Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was their best player at the pitch when they came.
No, but I'm saying, did he play in the St. Louis City the first game of the season versus our club?
I don't think so. He may have been on the bench. I don't think we saw him in that game. We can find out here. I was wondering, you know, because Kip obviously has all the St. Louis connections. I was wondering if Jackson was maybe a St. Louis kid, but he's not. New York for Jackson there.
Shout out.
Yeah, there you go. Second half here, and this is like, I mean, the first half was exciting, even with the 0-0 scoreline. Second half was something else. At half, Rodriguez comes in for Louis Jean, and then 47th minute, nice Austin break. We see the ball worked from Cristo Vela all the way over to CJ on the left. Puts in a low cross, dangerous, but deflects away from goal, and the keeper pounces on it. 2 minutes later, St. Louis now building up the opposite direction. Multiple passes in the Austin 18. Ball gets swung all the way to the right, and Sal turns his body. Nice block there. Good positioning on the shot. And then he also recovers possession. Another good game from Mazzaferro tonight, I thought.
Absolutely.
I guess just to illustrate like the up and down nature of this game, also 49th minute, David steals the ball back from St. Louis, and he's streaking solo to the goal, gets it past the keeper, and it glances just barely off the post. But that was just a good bounce. He took the opportunity and inches away from scoring the first goal.
It was a fun game, man. And they played well, St. Louis, that is. But not
50th minute. So again, 1 minute in the notes here, insane pace.
Yeah.
Chances nearly every time down the pitch. St. Louis buildup again ends with a low cross that goes across the face of goal. Luckily for us, and nobody there for City to finish it. 54th minute, another St. Louis break. Ball played in on the ground this time. Las gets there first near the end line and wanted a foul. And I think there was something in that. There was not zero contact there, but ref was kind of pretty much letting him play tonight, which I thought was good for the pace of this game. Like it kept it entertaining, not too many stoppages.
For sure.
55th minute, you get Micah in for Vela there on the right, and then Alonso Ramirez comes in for Jackson Valti. And I thought Ramirez had another very, very solid outing.
He did.
57th minute, Mazzaferro, another long ball down the left sideline for CJ. He puts the burners on, beats his man, gets to the end line, puts it across, and the keeper deflects it out for a corner. That ensuing corner played short. Ramirez whips it in, and Micah kind of, I said collides with the defender, but then we saw the replay, and the defender just puts his head into the back of Micah's. That's tough because I don't think that's enough really for a penalty call.
No.
But like that is a foul, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's also not enough for stoppage, in my opinion.
Yeah, the ref stopped the play, and we had the ball still right on the left side of the 18. And then the restart is, of course, their keeper kicking it all the way down to Damien. I mean, I imagine because those guys are holding their head, it's probably the protocol for the official. But
I understand.
Stop the chance for sure.
Yeah, that's something you can definitely game.
Yeah, no doubt. 60th minute. This tough moment from Kip here. I thought he played a very solid match, but about 25 yards outside of our own box, misses on a tackle that, like, if you're gonna miss, if you're gonna go for it, you absolutely have to connect here. At least like draw a foul, stop.
Yeah, or take him out. Yeah.
Yeah. So springs the fast break here for St. Louis, and I don't know if this was Janssen or not, but whoever shot this curves it like right off the top corner.
It was Janssen.
Yeah, he was dangerous.
Multiple moves on that play, gets it to his right foot. I mean, half an inch lower, it's a goal, and there's really nothing Damien could have done about it.
Yep. 1 minute later, Austin picks up a loose ball kind of near the half line, breaks 4-on-4. CJ puts the pass on the ground to David, whose shot looks like they called immediately, David and CJ, for a handball here because it clearly deflects off a defender and bounces right to the keeper, but no call. And again, I am 95% sure there's no VAR in Next Pro, and I get it, but man, we got the technology, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine it's about paying people.
Sure. 63rd minute, CJ ducks into the middle of the field near the half line, plays David through, and then his shot gets deflected out for a corner. Not the only time we're going to hear that. But again, like CJ doing it, like winning the ball back in some of these possessions, beating his man on long balls, playing guys through down the sideline, ducking into the middle, playing guys through up the middle. Like, I know that this level is maybe 2 steps down, right, from MLS. But he's doing it all right now, man. If you can't tell, I'm geeked up at how good he has been the last couple games.
I am as well.
Pinot comes on for AOC in the 67th, 69th minute. CJ sets up David again with another through ball. His shot deflected out for another corner.
Mm-hmm.
It was coming, man. That corner is taken short, then whipped to the right side. Kip gets his head to it, and it bounces near the back post. I don't recall who popped it up off of the crossbar, but it's slammed home by CJ, who's right there. And, all those chances that they could have and should have finished and didn't, you get a lucky bounce here in front of net, and CJ right place, right time, and does what he needs to do, puts it home. Like he volleyed it into the net too. Like that's not the easiest finish in the world.
I mean, we just watched Seba put one 10 feet.
Yeah.
So true. We can't be taking shit for granted here. CJ also playing guys open.
Yes.
Putting balls into space, giving them the ability to run onto it. His chemistry and the way he can find David is just something I hope that we can hang on to for a long time to come.
Mm-hmm. So Austin obviously sitting back a little bit more now, but definitely not completely packing it in. Still looking for their chances to counter. 76-minute St. Louis possession, kind of near the sideline, the broadcast camera sideline. Ramirez just 2 awesome tackles, and St. Louis was still able to kind of keep it in the area. They end up working it over to the right side, but I thought Ramirez, again, I thought he was extremely solid defensively once again. Shot gets taken by St. Louis, kind of center right, little outside the 18. It's on frame, and Damien, great save to touch it over the bar. That guy's, he's not the biggest keeper, but he is athletic enough to make those type of game-saving saves.
Yeah, I mean, most clean sheets in the league for a reason. It's partially because of this defense and partially because of some individual brilliance by Damien back there, and another just great game by the D and Damien.
Yep. 79th, Captain Joe comes in for check on the right there. Next minute, St. Louis gets free and behind down the right side. Inline cross is put wide on the redirect attempt, and that was very lucky. A lot of open net for that City 2 player to target, and he just mishit it. 2 minutes later, CJ wins the ball back near midfield, and then he's the one that makes the run up the middle and played in behind by, I think, Hafferty. But as I was taking notes and trying to write at the same time, it might have been Valentin.
I can't recall.
Regardless, CJ puts it across to, again, what I can only deem from the broadcast angle as the perfect spot. Pinot was a little bit late getting there, and he ends up fouling the St. Louis defender. But again, it was like I thought you put that perfectly. He was playing guys open. And that was another example of him, just the ball placement with his passes, both on the ground and in the air, were very accurate. Again, 85th minute, slip up by CJ here, to be fair, in the 18, a sustained period of possession for St. Louis in that threatening zone. And instead of clearing it, I think CJ didn't see the defender here is what it looked like. And so loses the dribble near the edge of the box. And then pretty nice backheel pass by the St. Louis player to create that space down the right side of the box. And that the cross attempt is headed right in front of net and luckily over the bar. So yeah, what's that?
They were knocking.
No, absolutely.
They were definitely knocking.
Again, there is always an element of luck involved in any win. And we had a little bit more of it tonight than average, for sure.
I also think we did. I mean, I think we outplayed them.
I agree. Well, there was they had luck on their back line and with their keeper too. Some of the chances that we didn't convert. Yellow card to Loss here in the 85th for time wasting. And then 88th minute, St. Louis player takes out CJ way late after he got rid of a ball and yellow card, but then guy was complaining too. It was like, yo, come on, shut up, bro. That was a dangerous play right there. Yeah,
don't do that, bro. Don't damage the goods, man.
Correct.
I don't know who you are, but
and man, the 4th minute of stoppage time here, there was 5. Jensen again blasts a shot through space at the top of the 18, just wide of the post, and that was all she wrote. So Austin FC 2, 3 wins in a row. How about that for a fucking bounce back after that little dip in form? 8 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses. Of course, 1 shootout win for 28 points through 14 matches, 2 points per game, 18 goals for, 9 against. best defense in the league, 6 clean sheets. What else you got to say?
Just way to respond. Way to bounce back from a tough stretch. What did we dropped 3 in a row, right?
Yes, we did. 3 losses in a row.
Undefeated and then 3 losses in a row. So way to respond. Another total team effort. The depth on this roster at every position really just can't be overstated. And I guess to try to tie it back into promising things for the first team, this roster was constructed by Rubio. So we have a benchmark for success. I understand it's a different league. I know that. But clearly the man has an eye for talent and put together a very good squad that also appears to have great chemistry and just high character dudes on it. So very excited for FC2 in this 3-game win streak. And hopefully this is something that we can build on for the first club. And, if you haven't gotten to see these dudes play, man, it's a lot of fun. They play with a ton of passion. They're a very talented club. And you'll definitely be seeing some of them at the Q at some point in time.
Yep, at some point. But you can see them all at the pitch this Sunday, 6 p.m. Central. Timbers 2 coming to town. Timbers on a bit of a nice run of form after, the first time we saw them. First time we saw these guys, you and I we thought we were going to roll in there 4 or 5-0 because they're not a super talented squad relative to some of the other teams in this Western Conference. But they gave us, that was a tough game up there. 1-0 win for Austin. AOC scored in the 4th minute, if I recall correctly, and then Austin held on from there. But they made it very tough up there in Portland. So now coming down to Austin on a 3-game win streak. These guys started 2 wins and 7 losses. They were not having a great season, and then just recently 3-0 over Real Monarchs. I'm looking at Austin. Here's Timbers 2. 2-1 on the road over Quakes 2, 4-2 at home over Loons 2, and 2-0 at home over North Texas. That's a quality win right there.
Yep.
So they are still sitting 11th in the West, but they are just 4 points out of 5th, and a couple games in hand on some of those teams above them. So they have clawed their way back into the conversation here. So 2 teams with 3-game win streaks. Something's got to give here. We got no full ties. We're going to at least go to a shootout here. 18 goals for, 22 against for T2. And then Florian Monzon, I think I'm butchering his last name, but I believe Argentinian. They signed him in mid-April. So he's got 5 goals since joining the team then. Ooh. I think that was a few weeks into the season. So it seems like he's kind of taken over at least the lead role offensively here. So maybe one to watch there in Florian Monzon. But let's talk about us and close out last business day here. I think we'll probably see some more rotation here. Obviously, Bobo out there had his first game of this international break with Uganda this morning. Congrats to him on another start for his national team. What do you think we see differently here on Sunday evening compared to what we saw in St. Louis tonight for Austin FC2?
I don't think Cristo starts. That's probably where I'll start with that.
All right.
So I think it would probably make the most sense to slot David back into that position here. The midfield he can just constantly rotate this midfield. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But got to stick with Valentin. And I like it when he plays with Valti. I think that they bring like really synergistic kind of styles of play.
Sure.
To the pitch. Obviously, they have good chemistry between one another. Jackson obviously brings a little bit more of a defensive presence, a little bit more of a physicality presence, whereas Valentin a little more finesse, touch around the net. So I like that duo. I don't think that we need to switch up there. Captain Joe, I think, will be back out there. Check. He has started now 3 in a row, I think, or 2.
That I don't remember.
I'm trying to think.
He has played on both sides though.
Yes. So I think that he got to start on the left.
Last time.
And that's why.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that he might get rotated here.
Okay.
And then Charlie. And I don't see too many other changes. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much with you. I think I agree about David getting back in there. Maybe you see CJ rotated out, but like I feel like he's too hot right now to. Yeah.
Can't take.
I mean, we didn't see EJ. So again, maybe there was something to there was something to that at the end of last game. And again, even extra fuck you to that what was it? Who did we fucking play last game? I got it right here. Whitecaps too.
Yes.
I mean, so look, if we got no injury reports for this team.
Yeah.
Like, I know that was some bullshit, man. You are a professional player. You cannot be yanking somebody's arm who's down. Like, we don't have to talk about that anymore, but hope he's doing okay. Hope we see him in the team on Sunday.
Could just be precautionary for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think Captain. Fuck that guy, man. That's bullshit. Protect my guys.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I can see it in your eyes, brother.
Yes, Captain Joe back in there makes sense. I think Ramirez back in there makes sense. But again, it's just the beauty of fucking Austin FC too, man.
Yeah.
It's a well-built team. It's a deep team.
I forgot about Ramirez even.
Yeah. So I'm excited to go back out there, especially since we both had to miss the last home match being out there Sunday. Hopefully we don't melt. It's going to be a hot one.
It's going to be hot.
All right, last thing to do here. We just had the double Easterdamus, but I'm not going to pick the same scoreline as you this time. So we'll break. We won't be holding hands to the finish line this time. And you know what?
Let's reveal our group.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I'm just gonna go first here.
All right, I'm gonna put mine behind my back.
Oh, do that. I totally trust you.
So you don't steal my goal.
Okay. All right, I am going 2-0 Austin. Another oh, you bastard! You picked 0-2.
No, it's the king. It's 2-0 Austin.
Okay, both of us 2-0. Damn it!
They're not gonna score on Damien.
No, I know, but I'm saying same pick again. I don't know. It worked.
Want us to be wrong? We're the worst predictions in all of football.
All right, man. We got a lot of nonsense to get to. So congrats to those guys again. Very fun watch here midweek. And excited to see the team again on Sunday. Again, 6 p.m. at the pitch. So moving on to the rest of this is pretty much nonsense. We'll have some of the typical nonsense here in a little bit, but we are at the halfway point of the season. So we wanted to do a couple different exercises. And the first one we're going to do here, and again, this is all for entertainment purposes. Not much of what you're going to hear the rest of this episode is going to come to pass, and not all of it is serious on our end, and we'll certainly put some qualifiers in there, especially when we get to trying to concoct some fake trades near the end of the episode. But what we're going to do first, halfway point, let's do report cards for all of our first team players. Everybody who stepped foot on the pitch this season for the first team, let's give them a letter grade, A, B, C, or F. I had some plus minuses in there. I don't know about you. I think, we did not share our rubrics. So I'm going to be interested to see how we graded these guys differently. But the one thing we did do is we had kind of a master list. We just went in order of jersey number, right? So we're starting with, of course, number 1 on his jersey and number 1 in our hearts, Bradley Stuver. And we'll close it out player-wise with Rado. And then I think fair to give Josh Wolf and the coaching staff a grade as well. So starting up top, I'll let you kick it off. Brad Stuver, what's his midseason grade?
I gave Stuver a B thus far throughout the season. Like I said earlier, to a lot of Austin FC fans, the man is always an all-star, and that really could be said for the amount of impactful saves that he's had to make this season to help us claw to 5 victories. But he hasn't been perfect, or I think actually an all-star starting caliber player here. So I went with a B.
Yeah, and I think certainly those stats look a little worse after Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And look, this is just one of many grades we're going to give out here. But I think to start, you are being a little bit more strict than I.
Okay.
I gave Stuver an A-, right?
Okay.
Look, he's given up more total goals now than any other keeper in the league. That is obviously not all on him. And some of the other keepers in that range in terms of total goals given up have missed multiple matches. So the raw numbers, not necessarily, or are probably worse. Not probably. They are worse than like your per 90 type of stats, which is more what you should be looking at in that regard. And like I couldn't knock him down out of the A tier because I know there's at least 2 matches this season that we would not have had a result from, whether it was a draw or a win, at least twice, probably more like 4 or 5, where he was the difference there in net. So he's an A- for me.
Okay.
Next up, go ahead. Sorry.
I think what might be, I guess it might be too early to say this, but my grades were all definitely pulled down by the overall
performance of the team,
performance of this squad right now, because ultimately, obviously, it's a team game. I understand we're doing this individually, but everyone got on the curve with the
right.
It was applied to everybody.
Well,
let's get this next one out of the way.
I was going to say, who's setting that curve, pulling everybody down other than Amro Tarek? We'll alternate who goes first here.
Okay.
I imagine this is the same grade. Fucking F. Jack Black might give him an F+, but I will not. F for me. I don't know what else needs to be said. Dead weight on the roster right now. Look, it's a team game. Josh Wolf did not put out the lineup to put these guys in a position to be successful down there. Amro Tarek doubled down, said, watch this, and made it worse than it could possibly be in any other scenario. So, look, man, he's going to be gone, whether it's in this next month or at the end of the season. F. That's it. I'm done talking about him.
F- for me.
Yeah. Okay.
My only F- receiver recipient here.
Yeah.
And I had to add the minus on because he posted a picture during the game on Instagram. And I mean, everyone, if you have played sports at any level, you have made some sort of catastrophic mistake at some point in time. So that is understandable. Doing what he did, posting the pictures, not be like just clearly separating himself from this team is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So, I mean, I don't know much about Amro Tarek. I would assume he felt pretty terrible after that game. And the way to respond to that is to, shut up, do your job. So F-, can't
Sure. I guess the only thing I could say in his favor there is like maybe it was the team saying, you take some time away. Like you go figure this out. Like, we don't need to spend it. We don't need to debate Amro Tarek's feelings.
All right. So
Kip again spent 95% of his time with FC2 this year, but one big blemish there at the beginning of the season. What do you got for Kippy?
I got him at an F.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming we're grading him just based on his performance at the first club and not his FC2 performance, which I think has been solid. But I think at this point, it's fair to say that Sal Mazzaferro is better.
It's at least an argument.
And when he was on the pitch for this club, he failed. There's no really way other to say it. And he was supposed to be our first center back off the bench, and now we only have one healthy one, and he can't get on the field. To me, that's an F.
Yeah, and I think you are probably right here. I feel like I cheated a little bit, even though I set the fucking parameters of this thing. I did, in my notes here, I gave him credit. I said, first team appearance was bad. I gave him a C-.
Okay.
Because I wrote, He's been a part of the best back line in Next Pro, but we're not grading Next Pro. So I think you're right. And if we're going to average these, we'll slide him down to an F overall. So
Okay.
you caught me slipping there, trying to be too positive with Kip and to interject the Next Pro performances in there. All right, Johan Valencia. I have him at a B-. I think he has shown flashes of the skill that the reasons the team brought him in. Champion in Colombia, I believe twice, coming off one of those championships, getting to Austin, injury, adjusting to the league. Okay, this season we're seeing some improvements, but he's still been up and down. I don't think we can say he's been consistent. But I do think he has improved year over year. And so I gave him the bump up from the C range to a B-, because I think he's more often than not done his job. He doesn't provide many moments of excitement though.
Yeah, I get that. And I mean, that's how I graded him, but I gave him a C because to me, if you're up and you're down a lot, that's pretty average. So I put him right there at the C grade. Again, yeah, he's done some nice things this year. He's shown flashes of what he brings to the club, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. But then you see his staggering limitations on the offensive side of the ball. So I put him at a C, and a player I like. I just think that he, has this. I don't know what his ceiling could be as a player, but overall this year, C, been average.
All right, Danny is up next, who will debut with the Venezuelan national team on Thursday night. Also got a match on Sunday. So looking forward to watching that on Thursday. What do you got for young Danny?
I got Danny at an A. I think he is my second highest grade throughout these players here. As we'll get into with the All-Star ballot here, I think he's one of the most important defensive midfielders in the league. I don't know of a lot of other sixes that get asked to do as much as he gets to do, especially when we talked about Wolf's potential overreaction to becoming press resistant. And that mainly brought Danny back and to be in more control of the ball and have somebody who had actual, serious foot talent and skill to kind of mitigate the presses that were throwing, putting thorns in our side. So I got him at an A. I love the kid. He's a great player. I'm super excited for him and his career and to be with Venezuela now. So A for Danny.
I also have an A. Just like potentially, like the argument is there to say he's been our best player so far. And agree with all the things that you mentioned. Rigoni up next. I got him at a C+. Okay. And I think very similar take in terms of like he's been inconsistent. We've seen kind of the highs. We've seen the lows. Similar to Valencia, but he's carrying that DP tag. And that's not his fault that he's in the league where like you have these certain spots where there's just elevated expectations. But that's also the reality. And so he's a little bit down for me in terms of his letter grade. Compared to a guy like Johan Valencia. So I have a C+ on Rigoni with his 1 goal and 2 assists.
Nice. I got him at a B-. And I think the reason why I'm there is because I didn't hold the DP tag against him and just judged him based on our performance this year as a club and individually. I think he's had a lot of moments where we should have finished goals. He has created chances that should have led directly to goals, and we haven't put those away. And again, that's not necessarily his fault. Put him with the B- just because obviously the consistency needs to be there. He has to be more consistent, and I think he has that potential. How much time he has left to prove that is a different story.
Yeah. All right. Former captain, Alex Ring, what do you got?
Cap, I got A-. He's been asked to do a lot for this club on the defensive side of the ball, moved positions. And, he's one of the guys. I was having a conversation with my brother Val up there in New York, and we were talking about Jimmy Butler. And I was like, the reason why I respect and love Jimmy Butler so much is because he squeezed every ounce of talent that he could get out of his physical limitations as a human being, which is all you can really ask for, because we all have our certain limitations. And I think that Cap has given everything he has. He's not a perfect player. He's very limited offensively, but he hasn't been in those offensive positions as he slid back onto this defensive line. So I went with an A- for Cap. And I think just also that goes for his presence on the field, his tenacity, and his willingness to sacrifice his body at any point in time to try to salvage wins.
Yeah, I also have an A- pretty much for all the same reasons that you just mentioned. He has done every single thing that this team has asked of him this year, even starting the year in a place where, he wasn't in the best place to start the season, and to be able to toss all of that aside and still come in and give fantastic effort, and not just effort, but like success with his performances out of position. A- for both of us there. Jossie Zardes up next. I have a C+, and I'm glad that I don't have to figure out what his grade would be if he didn't have that 3-game stretch of goal, because everything outside of that leans more towards an F grade. So again, the report card is the full body of work here. And so we cannot take away that stretch of great performances that he had. So he is at a C+ for me.
He is also at a C+ for me for those exact reasons. But again, he was one of the guys who actually got a bump from my curve solely because he won us 2 games in the waning moments that we would be really fucked without.
even more fucked.
Yeah. All right. Seba.
Yeah.
I got him at a B, and this was my harshest grade. I think I looked at him with the most amount of scrutiny, and while he's been on the pitch, obviously he has the numbers to support a higher grade, in my opinion. But also he took on the captain band. I don't know if that's been a good thing for him. I don't know if I could give him anything higher than a D in regard to the leadership and how he's responded to getting that band. So I got him at a B, and one of the guys who I could easily see getting up to an A+ for me at the end of the season, depending on how the rest of this plays out.
Yeah, I was even a little bit more harsh than you there. I have B-. And I think for like the reasons you mentioned it, and maybe this is a little bit of recency bias and I should be giving him a little bit more credit, but you mentioned the captain armband, and we just saw him where a lot of Austin fans were saying, man, you did not behave very captain-like in that moment. And again, I if we were all judged by our worst moments, I mean, that would be an awful world to live in. And so I'm not going to hold that against him. But again, he's the sitters that he's missed over the last 2 games. Potentially we get a point or even a win against RSL if he's putting those away. Potentially you put that one away against SKC, which was not all his fault, right? Little touch by Ratto in front of net there threw him off a little bit. But these game-changing plays that happened time and time again in 2022 and were the reason for him getting the giant pay raise that he did, and it was well-deserved. But just not performing up to that level so far this year, even though he has been overall, like you look at any of the analytics sites, he's the best player, of course. And like you said, it will not take much, but him getting back to the player that we know and keeping that consistency for that grade to shoot back up into the A range. For me.
Absolutely. And I mean, he suffered an injury, and that always derails your season a little bit. But I understand that.
All right, so I get to start with the Lord here. We got Rodney Redis, who is on the score sheet with a goal in the Open Cup and at least 1 assist in league play, if not 2. I have Rodney with a C+, and this is similar to Johan. He is improved this year. He has given us more than we expected. He's still pretty much the same player. Like he's very average at a lot of things. And maybe that's even putting it nicely. But the fact that we have gotten production out of him, especially in the time when we needed it most, when multiple top players for this team, especially in the offensive half, were sidelined. He came in and did a job, and didn't make us completely lose faith in this team at that point. So he gets a C+ for me.
That's fair. I also have him at a C+. He is an average player who, when we asked him to start, performed a little better than an average player we would have expected. So that's why he got the plus for me. Same thing, consistency stuff. And, when you're not – Johan at least, can specialize in defense and has this one attribute to his game that is above average. Mm-hmm. Rodney across the board, fairly average, but I think he did take a little bit of a step. Mm-hmm. And for that, I gave him the C+ there.
All right, well, it's on to you for Ethan Finley.
Finley, I think, has been a disappointment this year. I gave him a C-. Somebody who last year I thought played exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And I was actually really excited to have him as a depth piece here. And not to say that I'm still not, because I am, and I still do believe in him and his game. It's just that the time we needed him most, and this kind of can be what separates your typical role player from somebody who's above average and can, make a difference on a squad. The time we needed him most, he just really didn't do much. And it was hard to give him anything. I mean, I'm not going to give him a D because he's not an overall integral, super impactful player for us. And to ask of him what he did last year might be asking too much. So I went with a C-.
Well, I'm not going to give him a D because I'm a product of AISD, and we did not have D letter grades. You went from C- to F.
Whoa.
That's how we do it here, baby. So I gave him a C+, but I agree with your sentiments. Outside of the Seattle match, he has not provided the same spark as he did last year. He also has not, to be fair, had the same type of opportunities as he did last season, especially when we lost Dominguez with that whole issue and he stepped in as the starter, and even before then was contributing brace against Miami in the second game last year. But again, we have not seen that. Outside of the Seattle match, it is very pedestrian. So I gave him a C+. And then next up, another guy who got a big contract extension, a raise, Diego Fagundes. I have a C. And I'm knocking him a little bit for coming in out of shape. I'm certainly knocking him for the public display against the coach. I'm not a fan of that out there in Houston, the first Houston match. But since then, right, it appears that he has, he's working his way back from injury. He's not. I did quit giving me that look, man. Come on.
Sure.
All right, look, I'll cut it off. I have Diego at a C. What do you got for Mr. Fagundes?
I have him at what I think is a very kind D.
Okay.
You can't come into the offseason out of shape.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's an F for your profession.
Sure.
Part of your job description is being in shape, ready to play.
Fair.
So right off the gate, bad.
Yeah.
His performance on the field, not good. Yeah. Bad. And then if we're going to look at, with the rubric where I'm, looking at what are we asking of these guys, mm-hmm. and I held that against Seba, I had to hold it against Diego too, because he's one of our best players and supposed to be one of our most impactful players. So I think I was kind with a D. What has he got? 2 assists? 1 assist?
I think it's 1 assist. Yeah. I'm not going to push back against that.
Then you throw in the thing with coach.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. If you were balling out, it's still unacceptable.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if you're playing great, that's still unacceptable behavior. So a D for Diego.
Yeah. When you look at a site like FotMob, right? 15 players have had enough minutes, enough appearances to have a grade on the season. Out of those 15 players, he's 14th.
Hard to win like that.
It is.
Yeah.
Leo Väisänen. And this is you. What do you got for Leo?
I gave Leo a B.
Okay.
I think that he has been above average in his defensive role. Had a few mishaps here and there, but nothing like overly consequential that cost us games. Obviously, the grade might be a little lower because of the recency bias, and I haven't seen him in a while with this injury now. But I thought a B was pretty fair.
Yeah, I have B plus for Väisänen, and I think for me, having to come to the new country, new league, new team, 8 minutes into your first official match, your partner goes down for 8 weeks. And so all of a sudden you are the leader on this back line. And of course, Ring shifted back there, and Ring is the one taking, Ring is not only connected to the teammates that have been here, but he's speaking his native language. Like, he's helping Leo acclimate as well. But I thought the young guy has done very well for us. And there's been a significant downturn, visually at least, and the results have followed since he went down. L Chicago, L Houston, win Minnesota, L Salt Lake, L SKC. Yeah. And that corresponds to when he went out. So B plus for me. Hector up next. Obviously, we have not seen a ton of Hector Jimenez. I can't be too, like, he's come in and done his job. What was it? The New Mexico match when he came in and played the first 45. I think that's the last time we saw him. We saw him also in one match in league play. I forget which one that was, but I have a B minus for Hector because he's asked to play this minimal role this year. We knew that was coming when he moved from senior to supplemental roster spot. But he has not killed us when he's been out there. So B minus for the old guy on the team.
Sure. I just gave him I gave him an incomplete.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, you don't come to class enough. You get an incomplete. Yeah. Good or bad, he hasn't been either. Just think there's really no way to give him a fair evaluation here.
Yeah. I'm glad you snuck an incomplete in there because I have one as well later on. So,
nice.
All right, Johnny G, our boy. What do you got for John?
A plus, highest grade on the board. For obvious reasons. Don't know where we would be without him right now. And he has, again, somebody who is squeezing every ounce of talent out of who he is and what he has to work with. And he's been absolutely sensational all season.
Yeah, A for me, leading scorer, still as versatile as ever. He's played both fullback positions. He's made the change to, when we went to the back five and he was playing that wing back role and being even more pushed up and involved in the offense. Did good with that. And then we've seen him in some of these games late on be pushed up, even against SKC, right? Go up and play winger. And so he's played at least 3 positions already this season for this team. That's what he does. So A for me. That's where I pushed everything down with my rubric, I guess, is I could not give an A plus to anybody. So Julio's next. What's that?
I said, okay.
Yeah. Julio's next. I have a B plus. Obviously missed a ton of time. But we've seen since he came back the attributes, right? Like Julio's got a mistake or two in him most games defensively. And we know I think it would be silly to hold this guy with what we know about him through his career. It would be silly to hold him to a standard of like top 5 center back in the league. Would we love him to be that? Sure. But we know he's not that, right? He was our second center back last year. Ruben was the guy. And so he kind of just stepped into that role because Ruben was gone and we had a new guy next to him. But offensively, the offensive contributions and not just the assists, his headed efforts and the goals that he can put away in the air, but his distribution out of the back, the long balls, that vision, being comfortable with the ball at his feet is something that this offense needs and sorely misses when he's out. So I have a B plus for Julio because I think when he's been in there, he's been pretty damn good.
Okay. I got him at C plus.
Okay.
I think that all the points you made about him on the offensive side of the ball and the bump that the team has seen offensively from him being back are real and truthful. But at the end of the day, he's a center back and he's making too many mistakes on the defensive side of the ball for me to be like, okay, man, like, this is going to put you into the B range here or, have me feel better about, trying to give you a fair grade because at the end of the day, we need him to be getting stops for us. So I went with C plus.
Yeah, fair enough. Adam Lundqvist, and that's you. What do you got for Lundy there?
Lundqvist.
Yeah.
I got him at B-.
All right.
I think he had a pretty rocky start, and we were trying to figure out where we were going to be able to play him. And so I didn't allow too much of his solid play, particularly in that middle stretch of May, to dictate my grade that much. But he has been quite good, particularly in the 3-back. And still room for improvement. Again, somebody that we're asking to do different types of things from this back line or from that, back wing position to not be upsetting Landon or anything for sure. So I went with a B-.
Yeah, I haven't met a B. Could easily give him a B- and be fine with it. And I think his grade, I don't think I've been super impressed with him defensively this year. It's when we were playing the 5 at the back and with the ball, he's up in the offensive end and contributing. That's where he's raised at least my eyebrows the most. And so if we are moving to this 4-back, the more traditional defensive alignment that we've seen on this team throughout the first 2.5 seasons, I think this grade could be one we're looking at the end of the season, and he has declined in terms of how we see him. So I hope not, but a little shaky, and maybe even as I'm reading it off now, B feels maybe a little strong, but the run of form that he did have there when we needed it, again, a lot of those guys that were available during that time and stepped up, I'm giving a significant boost to here, I think.
For sure.
So Sofiane Jafal next. I've also got him at a B. I think he has been solid when called upon. Struggled a little bit with his ankle injury. That's not his fault. And yeah, I think he's also like the game against New Mexico United. Going back and watching that after that match happened. Little loose with the juice at times in terms of his first touch, couple turnovers. But again, there's not a huge body of work to draw from here for Sophie. And it has been good more than it has been below average. So he gets a solid B for me.
Okay. I went C+, and I think I might have been a little harder on him because I really do believe in his potential. And I really do think that he has the ability to be a very impactful player. And, we could pull highlight clips from every single game this season, and you could find somebody on Austin FC who makes a really bad error.
Yeah.
But with him in particular, and these defensive errors that he's had, I have felt like they've been partially mental and partially just a bit lazy. And I don't think that can be a part of your game if you want to be significantly above average for an MLS player. So that's why I went with C+. Obviously, C, your average grade there, right in the middle. So C+ for Sophie. And again, I added the caveat there that I could have been a little harsher on him, but that's because I really do think he's good. And there's biases in play here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, John Kolmanich here, obviously on the season-ending injury list. But what do you got for John?
Incomplete.
Yeah. Same. Incomplete.
Just incomplete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. He was okay when he was healthy. Again, I think he was a little inconsistent to start the year, but we'll never know. And just hoping that his recovery is coming along nicely. Nick Lima, I have at a B-. I also thought he has had his ups and his downs. And like Landon pointed out on Moon Tower this week, I thought this was maybe just the best way to define Nick Lima. Like he has very good games and then he has pretty poor games. And like, it's rare to catch the Nick Lima, just solid average, like no moments that you remember from Nick Lima. So I have met a B-. And maybe that's just because we're coming off a game where I thought it was a pretty poor Nick Lima outing, but he certainly had moments this season on both ends of the ball.
Yep. I got him at C+. Again, same kind of argument here, up and down kind of season. And he doesn't really have any of those, he was okay. It's very much on either end of the spectrum there. It's somebody who's probably just a little bit in over his head in regard to the talent in this league.
Sure.
And, while we're asking a lot from him, at the end of the day, we have to ask a lot for you. And if you've been just a little bit better than a replacement level player, C+ for you.
All right, Will Bruin, the dancing bear himself. What do you got for old Will?
C+.
Okay.
I don't know what he could do to get a B or A, because obviously the opportunity is not going to be there. So I was going to throw him right at the C, but in the game where he came in and got the header for us versus Portland, salvaged a point. There you go. There's your plus.
Yeah, I've got him at a B, and I was thinking B-. Obviously, the Portland goal is what stands out, but the effort factor and a little bit of the entertainment factor against Seattle for me, with the attempted dive, got carded in the box. Like, the man was trying his best at the advanced stage of his career. And so I have a solid B for Will Bruin. I think he, for the role that he's playing on this team as the third striker, the guy who is called on in a tough situation to come in and either kill the clock or be up there and try to get his head to one of these balls we're whipping in. I think he's done everything in his power with those old legs of his to get the job done when he's out there. So I've had him at a solid B. All right, Lobito here, back in the team from the U20 World Cup. I've got Owen Wolff at a B+. The kid takes some, his lack of a better term, abuse is a little strong, I think, for some of the comments that people make about him. But some people, not fans of him being on the pitch at all. Obviously, we are the other way. The kid is far from a perfect, polished product. But he's also 18 years old and has flashed some fantastic moments, especially offensively this year, and being able to, again, that press resistance that we've seen has a lot to do with him back there pairing with Danny and his security with the ball. Certainly lacking the passing ability of somebody like an Alex Ring from that spot. And maybe even fair to say like a Sophie Jeffel. We've seen some pretty good passing out of him. But he's been a key piece to this team in multiple wins. So I have a B+ for the 18-year-old Owen Wolff.
I also have B+ for Lobito here. And I think that is pretty much because I've watched every second of every game. And the stuff that he does, yes, and the stuff that he does sometimes doesn't show up on the score sheet, but he also has moments that showed up on the score sheet that were huge. So he's a B+ for me. And again, he's obviously not at any sort of level that Danny is at right now, but those two young guys there are really promising. And, it's going to be hard to keep them both, but
you ain't keeping both over the next 2 seasons or so, right?
For sure. So yeah, B+ for Lobito.
All right, Maxi Urruti, what do you got?
I got Urruti at a C-.
Okay.
2 goals across all competitions, yes.
I believe you're correct, yeah.
Saved
Montreal and New Mexico. Saved
us versus Montreal. So, for the striker job that we have asking from these two guys up top, and G and Maxi, hasn't gone very well. And at the end of the day, if you're a striker, you gotta put the ball in the net. He has struggled to do that. And I think the only thing that really saved me from him probably being at like a D+ is that he does provide maximum intensity when he's out on the pitch. He leaves it all out there. He adds a press aspect to our defense that we don't have elsewhere up front. And I think that that's really impactful. And that's something I've been saying that I love about Maxi since day one, is that he plays as hard as he possibly can. And at the end of the day, though, we need some goals, and he hasn't had the most chances. And that's partially because how the team has performed. And again, part of this grading system and rubric for me was that we have not been good, and it's going to be hard to give guys solid grades just because we're in the shitter right now.
Yeah, I have him at a C. Obviously, like you mentioned, the big moments, especially against Montreal, the intensity that he brings to the pitch, the camaraderie that he brings to the pitch. he's also in this bench role now for the most part. Like we've settled into most of the time now it's Zardes first, then Maxey. And so less opportunity this season to score some of those goals than he had last season. So I had him at a C, but really nothing spectacular since that second game. So we'll close it out here with the man who may be on the way out 2 weeks from now, Alexander Radovanovic. I have him at a B. We don't have a ton of a sample size here, but the small sample we do have from Rado and just keeping it focused on what he's done on the pitch has been extremely solid. The game where it's not even the game. This man continues to fight through that shoulder injury, the torn labrum, small fracture in that shoulder as well. The fact that he continues to get out there and give it his all for this team, that he it seems like they know behind closed doors, and obviously we've seen little hints at that he is going to be gone. But I got him a B, man. Like he saved Minnesota just as much as Brad Stuver did. So what he has done for this club, even if he's gone in 2 weeks, I really appreciate the fight when he's been on the pitch.
I got him at an incomplete.
Yeah, also fair.
The sample size is just too small for me to give him like a decent grade here, or even just a fair grade and assessment. And I agree, he did save the game versus Minnesota there. But I mean, it's just hard to give him an accurate grade when he's got what, like less than 300 minutes. It can't be much. I don't know what he's at exactly. Oh, here we go. It's like 90, 135. So like he's only got like 200 something minutes for the club. And that's an incomplete for me. And I think the grade more so on him is going to have to come for the front office. And what went down and how this is playing out now. So yeah, incomplete.
All right, let's close it out. What is your grade for Josh and the coaching staff this season?
Oh shit, putting me first here. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were doing coaches at first.
My bad. That's on me. I'm the organizer here.
It was not on the master list.
I can go first if you want.
No.
I've got thoughts.
I don't know if it's necessarily a fair grade, but I'm going to give him a D.
Okay.
And that is mainly because of the points that we currently have, where we are sitting at on the table. I think that they have done as much as they really could do with this roster, the limitations of this roster, the lack of depth, and overall solid talent across the board. It's been a rough fucking season. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if Wolf gets fired, nobody's going to be like, oh, well, it was just because of the injuries. It's just
for sure.
What's going to be known is where we were at on the table. And at the end of the day, fair or not, right or wrong, that's a coach's job. So I think that's the harshest grade that I really handed out here in regard to, you can only work with what you've got. But I think it would be unfair to give them a passing grade right now. And I know that behind the scenes, things are, depending on who you hear it from, it's either solid or not great. So it's probably somewhere in between, and the truth probably lies in there. So a D for them and the staff. But again, this is, I don't want to sound contradictory in, my support of Josh and the defense of this staff across the board, because I still do maintain that they're a very talented group. And this is a grade for where we're currently sitting at. Yeah,
of course.
Yes.
I've got a C minus. And again, I got no D's in my rubric. So look, if they had not adjusted as a group with those guys out, it's an F, no question for me.
Yep.
But they kept the season afloat. Again, what I say as afloat for some people is just fucking unacceptable. And that's fine, right? If that's how you do it, I'm a little bit more realistic, right? It's not going to be top 2 every year. And so I think, look, it's not an impressive showing so far. And that's maybe being nice about it. And it's like, it's a little puzzling with the team getting healthier up front. I know we still have the issues. Even like the back line is probably worse now than it has been the entire season in terms of the injuries. But losing these back-to-back games, which was crazy that was the first time this season we've lost back-to-back matches. With the attack getting healthier and still being relatively anemic up front in terms of putting goals in the back of the net, that's pretty worrisome too. But I have a C- because I'm grading as a whole, and that month with no Seba was about as good as we could have hoped for. And a lot of that was on the coaches. A lot of that was on those guys that we mentioned that stepped up during that time. So barely a passing grade for me at a C-. And it won't take much. Look, man, we lose these 2 games coming up at home, Covatejas. You might slide down into that F range for me.
For sure. For me, it's he got the test grade back. There's a D on it, and the teacher wrote in red ink, "Come see me after class." Okay. And he's going to come after class, and they're going to get shit figured out, and we're going to pull this grade up in the second half of the season. But yeah, it's the only reason it's not failing for me is because, they kept the team afloat. It seems like, the splintering, the faction that has happened, the fractals that have happened for other squads.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like that's happened here.
Sure. Yeah.
The breaks from within. And that's a testament to the coaching staff and having high quality men on your team.
Yep.
High
character guys.
Yes. So look, I'm confident that coach will come see teacher after class, and we'll press on forward and have a better second half to this season here.
Yeah. You get to do test corrections in this class, right? You get a whole second half.
Exactly.
Second semester. So there's a report card. Man, that went long. Let's jump into the best ball update for the week. Week 18 in the Verde Best Ball League sees a tie. First time ever. We Are Us and TV Moon Tower tie, 48 points each. You get a brace from Raul Ruidiaz for We Are Us and TV. Ruidiaz back for those boys. That's huge for their team. Moon Tower, of course, as they fucking always do, get the highest scorer on the week, Carlos Heel, 2 goals and an assist, if I recall correctly, 16 points. Northern Pod, right behind him, 45. So barely give up any ground to both of those teams. And we were right there. Not a great week from our keepers. In Texas Ring of Fire, again, we got to get the date set for this transfer window. 36 points. Still, 4 DNPs in there. It's just it's been a rough go of it for RB and the boys. But I saw them. They're strategizing. They're making some changes in their front office. Yeah, they're scouting. They got their draft board. They're debating.
Talk about cracks. Cracks and fishers showing up in the club. It's happening over there with our buddies at Texas Ring of Fire for sure.
Yeah.
So Harry jumping in there.
I know, man. Insurgent Harry. Yeah. Always trying to stir things up in the outside streets. Overall, Moon Tower 857, North End Podcast 787, We Are Us and TV 778, Texas Ring of Fire 705. So let's jump into the bets this week. Austin FC is off, but there are some MLS matches this weekend, and there's one tonight. And so we're going to get some bets in on that game. But first, a quick recap of what happened last weekend. Oh yeah. Shit.
Tell them about it.
Profits. Profits. Plus 0.2 units.
Bathing in it, baby. We got units to spare now.
So we missed on Austin plus 260, LAFC plus 130, 4-0 at Houston. What the fuck are you guys doing? DC, the Fighting Roonies did not come through at plus 310. Neither did all reliable Seattle Sounders, who I continue to go to at all the wrong times. They were plus 180. Could not get it done. 3-3 thriller there in Charlotte. Galaxy plus 225. Took the draw at St. Louis. But the 3 that we did hit, enough to get us over the line, plus 0.2 units on the week. Driussi opened up at plus 275 to score. We jumped all over that. I looked before the match on Saturday. Of course, we didn't watch it together. You were up in New York. He had been bet down to minus 115. So getting him at plus 275, it felt good. Well done by you. Orlando takes care of business at home, -125. And then Columbus on the road, +165. Did also come in for us. So plus 0.2 units on the week, -28.08 units still on the season, but we keep it rolling here. Obviously less games, so only a few picks here tonight for us, but I'll kick it off. LAFC hosting Houston tonight. Both teams going to be missing some key players due to the international break. So I'm going to go to Stipe Buke. Okay, one of their young phenoms there for LAFC. I think he's going to get the start. We don't have the lineups yet, but he's plus 275 to score a goal tonight. I'm going to take that, and if he doesn't start, I imagine Mateusz Bogusz will get the start, and then I will take him if Buke doesn't start. Bogusz at plus 250. So whichever one of those starts, and if both start, I'll just take Buke plus 275. What do you got?
It's good. That's a good contingency plan.
Okay, yeah. Hey, it worked last week, right? A little contingency. Right. We'll take 7 no matter what.
Well, I'm going back to that game as well and going to the perfect bet. Look, Houston just beat LAFC 4-0. And we're getting them at plus 500.
Yeah. So,
look, I just look at this from the betting perspective, y'all. We're taking it because it's plus 500.
Yeah.
So plus 500 Houston to get the win in LAFC. And if they don't, that means Houston lost.
Yeah.
Is even better sometimes than 500 units.
Exactly. Absolutely. All right. I'm just going to make 2. I think both of us just going to make 2 here this week. I'm going to New England. They're hosting Orlando City. So the Fighting Felipe is coming to town. But I will take New England at home -125. We can lock that in.
Very nice. I'm going back to my boys, the Fighting Roonies, getting them at -155 at home versus RSL. And out of my tool belt, I am withdrawing my hammer, dropping the hammer on this one.
Okay.
Go ahead and double it down with the units from my Fighting Roonies to get the job done versus RSL.
All right, I like it. So to summarize the Week 19 picks here, we've got Stipe Buke to score with the Bogusz contingency on the starting lineup there, plus 275, plus 250 respectively. He's got the perfect bet, the orange team plus 500 tonight at LAFC. I've got the Revolution -125 hosting Orlando City, and you've got the hammer down on the Fighting Roonies -155 hosting RSL. Those are the Week 19 betting picks. Let's get it done. Let's move on real quick. We've got our all-star ballots in. All-star voting ends tonight. So hopefully you've been getting your votes in for whomever you would like to see. I can pull up our 2 ballots here on the screen, or one at a time. This is mine, so I'll start off first. I know we haven't really shared our ballots, but I imagine we have some similarities here because some of these feel like just guaranteed picks if you're not putting 11 Austin guys on the ballot. I've got Berkey in goal. He has been, by most of the advanced metrics, far and away the best keeper in the league this season. You know, I love our boy Georgi Petrovic, but for me, Berkey is, I think, St. Louis, I believe, still number 1 in the West here as we sit. 29 points through 16 matches. So Berkey for me. Center backs, I've got Miazga on the supporter shield leading FC Cincinnati. I've got Yamar from Seattle, who have also been, again, they've dealt with some injuries, but the defense has been stout. And then my fullbacks, I've got Galley on the right. I leading scorer among all defenders in the league, or I think just goal contributions as well with 7. And then I went Kai Wagner on the left. It was very close for me between Wagner and Barrial from FC Cincinnati, but I did want to, maybe the hottest team in the league outside of Cincy has been Philly over the last 6 weeks or so since they left, or since they got booted from CCL. So I wanted to have a Philly presence there. I've got Kai Wagner. At the 6, I went Joao Paulo. The importance to this team for Joao Paulo cannot be understated, both with how they struggled without him last year and their form dip this year when he had a little bit of an injury spell. And up front, this is where it gets pretty easy for me. Henny Mokhtar, Lucas Zelarayan in the midfield. You saw the Zelarayan winner from this past weekend?
I did not.
Oh, man, I got to send that to you right when we're done. It was, I'll just say it. Basically at the death, shoots from midfield over the keeper into the net for the win. Yeah. Yeah, It was like the ultra Rui Diaz.
Well, shit.
Then up front, I've got Buanga on the left, Yakumakis, our boy, up top. And then I have Christian Espinoza on the right. He's fallen off a little bit statistically lately, but been the key cog for that San Jose team that is in a solid playoff position right now. So that's my team, and I can pull up yours here now. Let's see what we've got in terms of similarities here. I don't know why that is. See if I can zoom that in, maybe. I see you've got Berkey here.
Yes, indeed. I got Berkey, obviously, for the same reasons. Johnny G for the same reasons. I went with Zimmerman here at center back with, I always say this name wrong. Glesnes?
Yeah, Jakob Glesnes, yeah.
Glesnes. I went with Zimmerman just because the amount of goals that Nashville has let up this season is a testament to their defense. I went with Nuhu on the left. I went with some similar kind of judgment with him with Johnny on the other side. A bit of an offensive presence out there that I liked having. So I guess this is where we really switched, was the Danny at the 6. I think he deserves it. I think he's one of the best players in the league. And what, a bit of bias here comes into play. But
sure.
He still, I think he still deserves it. And I think that there will be some potential that you could see him on this team here. Almada and Zelarayan at the midfield. Hard to argue with the results. Zelarayan, the statisticals from both of them. Zelarayan, highest FOTMOB rating in the league right now. I didn't have Mukhtar just because fuck him.
Hey, fair.
I had him in there initially, and I was like, can't do it. Stole an MVP from our boy last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, the God man, Buanga up top.
Yeah.
The Greek freak of MLS, Yorgos, goal-scoring machine. And I went Jesus Ferreira, who has the numbers to back up being an all-star this year, but can't be too mad at you throwing Espinosa in there.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at you for the differences that we had elsewhere either. I think the pretty solid ballot by you. So going to definitely submit those here once we finish recording. Let's move on into some more Austin FC talk here to close things out. First of all, we were going to talk about the Funes Mori rumor that surfaced, and I think that came from an outside source, and then the We Are Austin TV boys picked it up, I think. Apologies to those guys if I'm getting that wrong. Another 32-year-old striker, but I think he's just on a different level from our two 31 and 32-year-old strikers that are getting the majority of minutes. I believe 18 goals in 31 games this past season for Monterrey. And as they noted on Cap City Soccer earlier this week, it's not the first time a Monterrey player has been linked to Austin FC. Vincent Janssen last year, and then Miguel Layun in 2021. So, potentially just bluster here with the window coming up, but that is a name that has been mentioned. So I think for me, if we're going to get somebody like Funes Mori, that means there's going to be a shakeup at the 9. We're not going to keep all the 3 guys we have and bring in Funes Mori. So those are my thoughts on that. If we get him, I think I'm relatively indifferent. I think it's an upgrade, depending on how that shift comes to pass. But again, completely just a rumor at this point. Any thoughts from you on the potential there?
Yes, I think it's a bit of an upgrade, but still our offense really isn't too predicated on getting strikers the ball outside of crossing to them. So if he's solid in the air, I think that's great, because obviously Maxi not too solid in the air. And I know we'll get into some trade stuff a little later, but to what you're saying about if we get Funes here, one of these guys is gone. And if you just look at the contracts, it's Maxi. Yeah. Because moving on from G, who just got a 3-year deal, is not really feasible.
Because who's going to take him, right?
Yes, exactly. And Maxi, obviously on the expiring, becomes a bit more attractive. And I don't know who wants Will Bruin. I don't think there's really much of a trademark there. So
right.
when you look at it from that context, yes, if Funes comes in, somebody's got to go.
Yeah. Other rumor that we've really been talking about is Radovanovic. Obviously, we addressed that some on Sunday's episode, but then Hernan. Look, maybe this is a connection with the club, and he gets a benefit from that, or maybe he's just the luckiest Austin FC fan there is. Won a spot in that C4 experience on Monday, so got to go back to the stadium. So look, we're not jealous, H. We're not jealous at all.
We already did that.
What? Oh, I know. I'm just
we
saying.
We didn't get to go into the locker room.
I would love to go in the locker room.
I would love to, for sure.
So he got in there, noticed no 66 on the lockers anymore. So the diligent man that he is put that information out there for us to lap up for a few hours until he talked to somebody else who at the club who said, look, that's just because he didn't suit up for the RSL match, which is interesting that they changed the lockers out based on, like, I would think they would have everybody on the first team who's not at FC2. I would think they would all have a locker, but apparently not.
He was up in the suites.
True. Maybe they put their name up in the suites. Yeah. up in the loft. Yeah. So kind of false alarm. But again, I think everything we've seen is pointing to Rado being done here in 2 weeks, but we never know till it's done.
We'll see.
And again, we've heard that potentially a center back replacement is in the works. So again, that's another point in the direction of Rado maybe going back home here in a couple weeks. Let's jump into some trade talk here. And again, just another disclaimer. This is all bullshit from us, okay? This is just for our own entertainment purposes and maybe trying to set the stage for what to expect because, look, you don't have to ask me twice to try to draw up the dream scenario for what my favorite team can do in a transfer window. But the reality is there's certainly not going to be any sort of like roster overhaul. It's going to be at most probably 2, 3, maybe 4 moves. Looking back at what we did the past 2 summer transfer windows, 2021, that window was from July 7th to August 5th. And we did put out a little Twitter poll asking, when do we see the first Verde smoke of the summer transfer window? Over 150 people cast their vote. 50% say after the window opens on July 5th. 22% said after the Dallas match before July 5th. 7% of people said between this Friday and the Dallas match. 20% of people, time's running out for those 20% of people, said between now, which was Monday, and Friday.
I was one of those people.
That said early, the before Friday. Okay,
I was going off the Hernan Rado information.
Okay, yeah. That is not without precedent. The 2021 window again went from July 7th to August 5th. On the 30th of June, we saw Moussa Djite be announced that season. So that was again, about a little over a week before that window opened. So we could see something like that. And then near the end of the window, the 29th, Driussi announced. And the next day, Mackenzie Gaines as a free agent. Of course, Driussi came over from Zenit last season. Just 2 moves. Washington Caruso came in on loan from Sporting Cristal. That was on the 6th of July. And the window opened on the 7th. So the club announced that again. We've seen a couple other clubs, obviously Leo Messi, but then Chicho Arango to RSL. We saw the name is escaping me now, but Bouanga's running mate for the Gabon national team. Very talented striker coming to FC Cincinnati. They announced him this week. So Caruso was the day before the window last year. And then the 29th, which was the same day the previous year that Seba was announced, his buddy Emiliano Rigoni announced on the transfer from Sao Paulo. So this season, July 5th to August 2nd is the summer transfer window. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that dream scenario, right? I said I would love to concoct the scenario, and I've put this a couple other places over the last couple months. You can buy down Alex Ring from his designated player status with TAM. And again, I know we did the offseason run through about what these things actually mean. targeted allocation money. Each team this season had $2.72 million in TAM. And to buy down a player using TAM, you use that allocation money to buy down a player's salary budget charge as part of managing the club's roster. And so when you buy down a designated player, clubs may buy down the salary budget charge of a DP player with allocation money. That reduced budget charge may not be less than $150,000. Each club will be allotted 2 designated player slots. Clubs with 2 that goes into the rule. Look, I mean, I could read paragraphs of that.
Sounds like
what we need to know here is that the reason Alex Ring is a DP is so we can use those 3 U22 slots, which are Kolmanich, Redis, and Gite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kolmanich right now, season-ending injury list. So, to my knowledge, his U22 spot is now available, or vacated. There are certain roster restrictions or salary restrictions on who you could bring in to fill that spot for him. Obviously, Musa Gite, both you and I think the club will be moving on from him when his loan expires in 16 days. If that came to pass, that means we have 1 U22 spot still taken, Rodney Redis. If you only have 1 U22 spot, again, I'm going to say a lot of things, I think, over the next 15, 20 minutes that are incorrect. If anybody knows, please correct us. We are still trying to learn all of this shit, as I think are some people who have watched the league longer than us. If you have one U22 spot, you can then have 3 full DPs. Okay? So, dream scenario. We find a new home for Musa Gite. Okay? Then we've got, at least for 6 months, only 1 U22 designated player. You buy down Alex Ring using our allocation money. Okay? So then he still gets his money. We are just manipulating the salary cap to open up another designated player spot. And then we go out and I hope that our DP spot would not be used on somebody like Funes Mori. I think it would be somebody just with a little bit more zip to him, right? A little bit younger, somebody we could bring in and have for multiple seasons, not another 32-year-old guy, no matter how, Funes Mori is not Leo Messi.
Yep.
So that's my dream scenario. And I think that is feasible. Like, I could add on to that dream and say, we buy out, because we do still have that one buyout. Every club gets one every season. We could buy out Emiliano Rigoni as well and have 2 full DP spots and go crazy, right?
You just made so many people happy.
Well, let me bring us back down. It's not going to happen, right?
No.
That's not going to happen. That's going to tear too many things up. Like you mentioned, like that's how you cause a rift with your best player. You get rid of his best friend who just got here less than a year ago. So would we love to be GM and be able to do that and take the human part out of it and anything else, the emotional part? Would love to. But so again, I think that's the best thing that I'm hoping for. I'm not expecting it, but maneuvering the U22s, buying down Alex Ring, and bringing in a DP level player, hopefully up front.
I would love to see it. And look, love Wolf or hate Wolf.
Yeah.
He has the support. He was handpicked by this front office and ownership team. So they need to do right by him. Mm-hmm. Because if we miss the playoffs, it is going to be an upheaval to get him out. And already seen people talking about walking out protests, silent moments to get rid of him. Yeah, so like if we miss the playoffs, like they're not doing right by him if they don't bring people in to go all out for this second half of the season to right this ship. So to me, all eyes are on this front office. All eyes are on Rubio. You gotta
don't forget Josh. Josh is in that room though.
For sure. So for me, you gotta unload the clip here. You gotta do whatever you can to get a talent infusion on this roster. And you prefaced it with, maybe it's just like fringe things, and that's just not going to be good enough for me.
Sure.
And I mean, if we're giving out letter grades for the entire team and coaching staff, you got to look at this front office as well. And it's a D. Sure. It's a D. If Rado doesn't work out too, it's just like how many times it's going to happen. The depth issues, not good. So I'm hoping, and I do think that they will do right by this staff because, again, we have built not only this first team, but all the way down to the U12s, a system that was brought in by Wolf and his staff, and that's how we want to play. So put your money where your mouth is. If that's what you actually believe, and if you believe in this coach and the staff, then go out and get some players to make this team better.
Yeah. And I think you can limited. Yeah. Well, and I think you could also make the case that maybe Josh Wolf sees that if we don't make the playoffs, I could be out this year. And he's in that room, maybe able to pull the trigger on some of these things. So he's the one unloading the clip.
Yeah. Good. I mean, and if that's the case, then I'm happy with that. And I know that some people might not be happy with that, but at the end of the day, Josh doesn't want to lose his job. And if he's going to go down swinging, okay. It's not like the NBA where you can attach 14 draft picks
right.
for 10 years down the road, where the entire team, like if you screw up, if you're a Mikhail Prokhorov, you set the franchise back 10 years.
Yeah.
So I do think that it's coming, and I might have to eat those words a little later, but I'm fine with that.
Sure. Couple examples of trades that happened in the summer transfer window last year, just to get an idea of what you could potentially see. Chicago traded striker Chinoso Ofor to Montreal last summer transfer window for $325K in GAM, an additional $275K in GAM for performance-based metrics. Ofor at the time was a 22-year-old striker with 2 goals, 2 assists over 41 MLS appearances, 14 starts in there. Some of the bigger deals last season, I think in the summer window, the big blockbuster was Toronto sending the former MLS MVP Alejandro Pozuelo to Miami for $150K in GAM, additional conditional GAM on performance metrics, and a sell-on percentage. Pozuelo, 26 goals, 31 assists in 88 MLS appearances, and of course, former MVP. But that was a special circumstance, similar to what we see now on the Miami side with Messi and friends potentially coming in. They were making room for the Italians in Toronto up there last season. So that's where a team like Miami pounced on it, got a former MVP for very cheap. Another big one was Toronto trading Ralph Priso and a little over $1 million in GAM, plus a 23 international spot, plus a 23 first for Mark Anthony Kaye. Of course, Kaye, a mainstay on the Canadian international team, one of the better defensive mids in the league. It was there was $775K of that million in GAM split across 2 seasons, additional $250, split across multiple seasons depending on his roster status. Again, there's a lot of add-ons, additional language into these deals to get it done that we are still trying to familiarize ourselves with. Of course, Kaye, 27-year-old, 109 MLS appearances at the time of that trade, 13 goals, 21 assists, and won the 2019 Supporter Shield with LAFC. And we can wrap this up here. Philly traded Sergio Santos to Cincinnati for $300K in guaranteed GAM, additional $625K for performance-based metrics and contract conditions. Also a 50% future trade percentage if he is traded within MLS. And Sergio Santos has been filling in admirably for Brenner as Brenner sits out until he moves. And Santos, Brazilian striker, was 27 years old at the time of that trade, 19 goals, 7 assists in 75 MLS appearances and 47 starts with Philly. So let's talk. What are some potential trades that could happen? And again, all of these are admittedly far-fetched. But if we're in the GM's office and we are, we've got this elementary understanding of how this all works, the first place we got to go is Miami, right? Because everybody in the league, or the vast majority of teams, are going to inquire about somebody like Leo Campana. Messi and friends are coming. They've got to make some moves here. Campana, he may be the prize of this in terms of the league movement. He may be the prize in this window. He's on a young DP contract. He can be bought down, so they do not have to move him. But we'll see. Obviously, the smoke is out there. Reportedly, he can be had for a $2.7 million transfer fee or $1.7 million in GAM. So again, there's no database. I think most people have to calculate this themselves. There's no database for the allocation money in this league. But that's somebody I think Austin is probably at least just doing their due diligence on, and
Absolutely.
somebody that I would love to come in and see. The only issue, not issue, but I would be interested to see who gets jettisoned there. Again, I think both of us think it would be Maxey in a situation like that because he's probably just the easiest guy situationally to move on to another team. But like, then what happens? Is Zardes then on 800K your backup striker? Or do you shift your formation where you've got Campana and Zardes? Like, I think that might be a hurdle to Austin going after somebody like Campana is just where does he fit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, from the trades that you brought up, what we need to be looking at are opportunities from clubs that may be underperforming, or this is Muchi Jite.
Hey, there he is.
Don't be mad if we lose Musa. We got Muchi Jite. Mm-hmm. So you got to be looking at clubs that are either underperforming or looking to potentially be bringing in larger names. Now, again, earlier in the offseason, we talked about the what's it called? The rights to like talk to someone.
Like the discovery rights.
Yes. So I mean, maybe you call an SKC. Maybe they're trying to make a Ronaldo style. You know what I mean? Like a push for something along those lines. Just opportunities, because like we said, we don't have a ton of options in regard to what we can offer. So hopefully you're trying to find a team in transition, new coach. So yeah, I'll let you keep going with these dream scenario trades here.
Yeah, sure. Well, not all of these ones come in are dream scenarios, and I think still all of them fairly far-fetched. But again, just trying to throw some things out there and have some fun here. And again, there may be moves in the works for some of these teams in the league where they're bringing bigger names in from overseas, and some of their current players become available as the window progresses. So again, we are just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of this period of the season. And it's going to be exciting if you're a fan of the league, and hopefully we get some excitement as Austin FC fans as well. I got 3 more for you here, Ian. We'll do it quickly because I know this may be our longest episode yet here on the North End podcast. The Galaxy, right? Just lost Chicharito for nine months at least with the ACL, and he may be done with this team because of that injury. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we'd love to get our hands on a Ricky Pooch or a Brugman or a Marky Delgado, right? But maybe, and he's their starting striker now, so this, again, feels far-fetched, but maybe you could get a guy like Dejan Joveljic if you get a good enough package out there to the Galaxy, because the Galaxy are not going to typically, from what I can tell, build from within the league, right? Their status on the global stage still remains despite their downturn over the last 10 years or so. So like if you could get Joveljic for Maxi Urruti, if they're really going to shut it down. Mm-hmm. Maxi expiring this year, Dejan Joveljic under contract till 2025. There's our young striker to back up Gyasi Zardes, who also is up in 2025. Obviously, you're going to have to toss in some significant GAM here, I would think. Maybe some picks, maybe another young player. Again, I don't think we have too many standout young players that we're willing to move within the league. Obviously, Owen and Danny, they're untouchable within the league. The rest of the world, come get a touch.
Yeah.
So, like, I think you're shooting for the stars there. Joveljic would be awesome.
But I mean, just like I said, if you're looking at potential places for opportunity, Klein's out. They need a complete upheaval. I mean, they need to do everything almost over because nobody is happy out there, particularly when you have LAFC just steamrolling teams. So, again, opportunity. You're going to have to get creative, but I like it. And hopefully he could just play the way he plays when he plays against us every game.
Exactly. So the next one I had going to Montreal, and he just had a brace, so I know they're super high on him this week. But Mason Toye, okay, 24-year-old forward here playing for Montreal. Can we? And look, I'm not trying to pick on Maxi here, but as we said, if we're shifting around that 9 position, he is the easiest one to deal because he's still got way more left than Will Bruin. And Gyasi's contract, I would think, would be a lot tougher to move than basically a 6-month rental of Maxi Urruti.
And that's what makes Maxi attractive, is that he's coming off the books. That's the asset part of him, really.
Sure. Right now. And and also the fact that you're going to get that intensity from him every time he steps on the pitch.
And he could be better he could be better suited in a different style of offense.
Sure, no question.
And the frustration that he has with coach could be a very real thing that, maybe it's grass is a little bit greener on another side for him.
So, and Toy has been somebody who has struggled with injuries, really, I think, throughout his career, but healthy right now. So I think, again, you're going to have to send some additional. You're going to send Gam, maybe a pick, et cetera. But Toy would be under contract until 2024, so it's also not a long-term commitment. Again, I don't know what the incentive would be for Montreal to do something like that, but trying to find a couple. So we'll wrap it up here with this one, and we'll look to the back line. Right? I don't think we're going to be able to certainly not make a trade for a center back, right?
Yeah.
By trading another center back that is playing right now, because the only true center back we have healthy is Julio Cascante. But you know who else is on a first team contract and healthy and playing in Next Pro? Is Kip Keller.
Yep.
I don't want to deal Kip Keller right now, but could you move him for somebody like, I don't know, Mabika from Toronto? Toronto probably not going places, right? And we may not be either. But getting a guy who has his confidence under him right now, we saw that at Q2. I mean, the guy was handling the ball in the offensive end.
Absolutely.
Kip doesn't look great with the ball right now at all.
No.
So I think, Mabika for Kip and maybe $250,000 in Gam, maybe you can get that done. Kip's still on his Generation Adidas contract, so that's maybe an attractive thing to a team like Toronto. And again, Mabika 6'6", right? Get what you call him, Zimbabwe Shrek. Having him out there on those long throws, on the set pieces, that would be interesting for sure.
For sure. We need the depth anyway, regardless if it's interesting or not. It would be great to just grab a starting caliber defensive player.
Yeah. So again, just being silly there, having some fun, and hopefully somebody at some point we get more transparency from this league, and some nerd out there can build us a trade machine like you can get in other sports, and we can have more concrete conversations about that. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, listening to episode 64 of the North End podcast. If you made it through all of that nonsense this episode, and you've got 5 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, we would greatly appreciate it. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Help us grow the channel. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up button, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Ian, anything else for you or Moochie Gite before we get out of here on Wednesday night?
Stay hydrated, y'all. Make sure your dogs are staying hydrated too. And don't ride your bike with your dog while you're dragging it on a leash. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And if you have any trades,
Yes. You got trades?
I want to
fire them at us.
Yeah, let's see it, baby. There's no wrong answers here.
No, hell no. We're just having fun.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you once again. We will be back on Sunday evening recapping Austin FC2's second outing against T2. We will be previewing the FC Dallas match, the first matchup with Dallas that counts towards the Copa Tejas standings this season, and maybe some more summer transfer window rumors, maybe some smoke. Who knows? But we appreciate you once again for being with us. Until Sunday, he's E. I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.